Om Tadekam Smaramas-tadekam Bhajamaha Tadekam Jagat Sakshi Rupam Namamaha Sadekam Nidhanam Niralambamisham Bhavam Bodhipotam Sharanyam Rajamaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. On that alone do we meditate, that alone do we worship, to that alone, the witness of the universe, do we bow, to that one who is our sole eternal support, the self-existent Lord, the raft to safety across the ocean of this world, do we come for refuge. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning. Today our topic is, I throw myself on thy mercy. And our choir leader, Swami Mahayogananda, guessed it right. He picked the right song. It's a beautiful song based on Sri Ramakrishna's prayer. This phrase, I throw myself on thy mercy, what a wonderful expression of utter dedication to the divine. Placing our lives, which we try so hard to control and direct ourselves, placing our lives in the hands of God, in the hands of a higher power, and not looking to earthly means for solving our problems and difficulties, dedicating ourselves, consecrating our lives to the divine, taking complete refuge in God. It's an attitude of radical self-surrender, accepting all that happens as the will of the divine. And it reminds me of a beautiful phrase which I read in a little book. It's a Christian book on joining a monastery. When you join a Christian monastery and you consider yourself as throwing your lot in with the Lord. Throw your lot in with the Lord. We're all called to do that. Throw our lot in with the Lord. And how do we do that? Why would we want to do that? I'll try to take up this topic today. So this prayer of Sri Ramakrishna's, which was sung for us, it is a prayer recorded by M., Sri Ramakrishna's disciple, in his book, The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And I'd like to read out that passage from the Gospel. It happened in March of 1885. It was March 11th, and Sri Ramakrishna had gone in the morning from Dakshineshwar, where he stayed, to Calcutta, to the house of one of his prominent devotees, Balaram Bose. And he spent the day there with the devotees. Now, he spent the whole day there, and in the evening, this is what happened. Gradually, it became dusk. The shadow of evening fell on Calcutta. For the moment, the noise of the busy metropolis was stilled. Gongs and conch shells proclaimed the evening worship in many Hindu homes. Devotees of God set aside their worldly concerns and turned their minds to prayer and meditation. This joining of day and night, this mystic twilight, always created an ecstatic mood in the Master. The devotees seated in the room looked at Sri Ramakrishna as he began to chant the sweet name of the Divine Mother. After the chanting, he began to pray. What was the need of a prayer? What was the need of prayer to a soul in constant communion with God? Did he not rather want to teach erring mortals how to pray? Addressing the Divine Mother, he said, "O Mother, I throw myself on thy mercy. I take shelter at thy hallowed feet. I do not want bodily comforts. I do not crave name and fame. I do not seek the 8 occult powers. Be gracious and grant that I may have pure love for thee, a love unsmitten by desire, untainted by any selfish ends, a love craved by the devotee for the sake of love alone. And grant me the favor, O Mother, that I may not be deluded by thy world-bewitching Maya, that I may be never attached to the world, to lust and gold conjured up by thy inscrutable Maya. O Mother, there is no one but thee whom I may call my own. Mother, I do not know how to worship. I am without austerity. I have neither devotion nor knowledge. Be gracious, Mother, and out of thy infinite mercy, grant me love for thy lotus feet. So this is Sri Ramakrishna's prayer, recorded by M. And how beautifully he paints the scene. He describes the setting. And actually, M had a very poetic temperament. I'd like to read out a little bit of the original setting. When Swami Nikhilananda translated the Gospel, he left out some of the more poetic parts because you can't really translate poetry. But all the same, I'll read a little bit of how M introduces this scene in his own language. It is evening. The shadows of eternity have fallen on the ocean breast and on the deep dense forest and on the summits of mountains that kiss the firmament on high. They have cast a gloom on the boundless expanse round about and on the solitary bank of the undulating river that sends forth the never-ceasing sound of its many waters. At the sight of this sacred, solemn gloom, little puny man cannot help being in another state of mind. The sun, he was only a few minutes back, giving light to all nature. Whither is he gone? The question puzzles the child, a being who is new to the world. It appeals no less to the holy man, for he has the soul of a child. He feels that he is always in the presence and care of his divine mother. It is evening. What a miracle! And wrought by what a wonderful being. The birds come together and sing on the boughs of trees. Human beings, too, do the same thing. They sing the name of the Lord. It is evening. The disciples would not leave their seats. With their heads upraised and with eager ears, they listen to the sweet name of the Lord, chanted by the Master, sweeter, as repeated by him, than any they have ever heard before. Yes, they have never heard another child calling out so sweetly to its mother, saying, Ma, Ma. It seems as if drops of nectar fall from the Master's lips. So this is part of M's introduction to Sri Ramakrishna's prayer. And just wanted to give everyone a taste of his poetic nature and how he describes the setting. The disciples of Sri Ramakrishna are seated around him, and he begins to chant the sweet name of God, and they feel like nectar is raining down in their hearts, because he has a great soul in constant communion with the divine. He is established in the knowledge of oneness, and when he chants the divine name, it echoes in their hearts, and they feel the divine reverberating there. So, M beautifully notes what is the need of someone like Sri Ramakrishna to pray? What does he need to pray? He is established in the knowledge of the infinite. To him, the Divine Mother is a constant presence. His prayer is for teaching us how to pray. And it reminds me of how another great teacher also taught his disciples to pray. Jesus brought his disciples up onto a mountaintop, and there he delivered what is now called the Sermon on the Mount, his teachings to his disciples. And there also he tells them, he also starts with the divine name. He says, pray to your Father, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. So he starts with the divine name, and then he gives also this idea of surrender. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So this is the instructions of the great teachers are like that. Sri Krishna in the Gita, he also instructs the seeker after liberation to pray like this. Tameva Tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yatah pravrittih prasita purani. I take refuge in that primal being from whom has streamed forth this eternal activity. I take refuge. So let's take a closer look at this prayer and what it might mean for our spiritual life. Before Sri Ramakrishna actually starts this particular prayer, he sets the tone. He chants the name of God. He goes into a meditative mood, a prayerful mood. He feels love awakening. We all feel that love for the divine awakening in our hearts as we sit with Sri Ramakrishna and hear him chant the name of God. It's a prayer which is not uttered casually. It's a real prayer which is not something that we just cast off the lips, but something which wells up from deep within the heart. The expression of the deepest longing of our hearts for the divine. So then he starts his prayer. And what is the very first word of his prayer? Ma. Ma. Mother. This is one of the great contributions of Sri Ramakrishna to spirituality, to the spiritual life of humanity, is reawakening, rejuvenating the tradition of approaching the divine as mother. Now we see all over the world a resurgence of interest in the Divine Mother. When we attended the Parliament of Religions, people were using words like the Divine Feminine, and there were whole seminars dedicated to the Divine Mother. This is a recognition that we can approach the divine as mother. We can trace this awakening of interest surely to Sri Ramakrishna's emphasis on mother. The closest relation that we see in this world among human beings is between a mother and her child. There is no closer relation. The child has come out of the mother's own body. There exists such an intimate and deep connection. And she loves that child, especially at first, with utter unconditional love. No conditions on that love. Afterwards, God knows, but at the beginning, that love is utterly unconditional. Anyone who is a mother here knows more than I what I'm talking about. It overflows from the depth of her being, and similar is divine love. It is all embracing, all forgiving, completely unconditional. Swami Vivekananda says, instead of our Father in heaven, we say mother all the time. That idea and that word are ever associated in the Hindu mind with infinite love. The mother's love being the nearest approach to God's love in this mortal world of ours. Mother's love is the nearest approach to God's love because it is all embracing, all forgiving, unconditional. Sri Ramakrishna emphasized always that God is right here. The divine is right here, the closest, the soul of our souls. No one is closer to us. And in the highest divine realization, the distinction between ourselves and God melts away. So Sri Ramakrishna says, God is your own mother. Is she a stepmother? Is it an artificial relationship? She is your own mother. You can force your demand on her. If you can't force your demand on her, who else can you force it on? She is your own mother. So Sri Ramakrishna modeled for us this kind of relationship with God, the relationship of a child with its mother. And on nearly every page of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we find Sri Ramakrishna talking with his mother, playing with her, dancing with her, singing to her. He called her Anandamoyi, the all-blissful mother. So that was mother to Sri Ramakrishna, Anandamoyi. And then the very next words of his prayer, I throw myself on thy mercy, I take shelter at thy hallowed feet. Ami tomar sharanagato sharanagato is the Bengali. It means I am utterly dedicated, utterly surrendered at your feet. it's fascinating to see that this prayer is not a new prayer. This prayer has been echoing out of the hearts of the saints and sages since before history. We find in the most ancient scriptures of Hinduism, the Vedas, this prayer to the Divine Mother. Tam agnivarnam tapasa jvalantim vairochanim karma phaleshu jushtam durgam devi gum sharanamaham prapadye sutarasitarase namaha. I take refuge in her, Mother Durga, who is fiery in luster and radiant with tapas, who is the power belonging to the Supreme, who manifests himself manifoldly, who is the power residing in actions and their fruits. O thou goddess skilled in saving, thou takest us across all difficulties. We bow unto you. This is from the Durga Suktam. Durgam Devim Sharanam Aham Prapadye. I run for refuge to the Mother. So this attitude of seeking refuge in the divine is perhaps the very simplest practice. We take refuge in God, we surrender everything to God, and be free from worry. Let God take care of everything. And yet, it is also perhaps the most difficult of spiritual practices. It is an ancient attitude, as we have seen we find it right in the Vedas, and more than simply surrendering, it is also, there's an active component to it. We seek refuge. We throw ourselves on the mercy of the divine. Where can we find any shelter in this world? Tell me. Where in this world can we find an everlasting shelter? Everything is unstable. The Sanskrit poets give us an image of a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Have you ever seen a lotus leaf? It's actually, they say, hydrophobic. It doesn't get wet. If you put a drop of water on a lotus leaf, it balls up and rolls around, and just a little wind and the leaf flutters and the drop of water falls off the leaf. Like that is our life. Like that is life in this world. There's nothing stable here. There's no safe harbor. Our one safe harbor is in the permanent, the eternal, the divine. So run there, throw ourselves there, relinquish all our worries, all our troubles there, and be at peace. Come to me, says the Lord, come to me, all you that are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. So it's so very easy, and yet it's so very, very difficult. We think we have such a firm grip on our lives. We want to be in control. We say, I throw myself on thy mercy, and then we take it back again. Like a young child, perhaps young children said they might give a gift to someone, and then afterwards they think, I want it back again. And they go ahead and take it back. So we're like that. We give ourselves over to God, and then we take ourselves back. We're not ready. It is because God has not yet become fully real to us. The divine has not yet become the reality. I don't know God. How can I take refuge in God? I don't know God. Swami Brahmananda says, this practice of Sharanagati is not an easy matter. The mind always creates doubts and raises questions, such as, I have neither seen nor known God. How can I love him? How can I resign myself to him? Well, we have to practice. We have to remind ourselves. When the first Western monk of the Ramakrishna order, it was Swami Atulananda, Guru Das Maharaj. He was a close associate of another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Turiyananda. And Swami Turiyananda also emphasized this taking refuge in Mother, surrendering to Mother. And Guru Das Maharaj, as he is called, he was staying at Shanti Ashrama in Northern California, which was established by Swami Vivekananda as a retreat for us. And Swami Turiyananda and the devotees stayed there for quite some time. Then Swami Turiyananda went back to San Francisco, and Guru Das Maharaj was there all alone. And surely he was facing a lot of difficulties, being there all alone, trying to remain in his spiritual mood. And he must have written to Swami Turiyananda, it's pretty tough here, because Swami Turiyananda wrote him a beautiful letter, which he saved. I'm going to read out a passage from that. Swami Turiyananda writes to him, "Don't get discouraged or disheartened. Why should it be always sunshine and good times? Let Mother's will be done. Never mind sunshine or rain, we must not forget Mother at any time. Even if we don't see her, why should we lose heart? She appears again in our view. She knows what is best for us. Once we have given over to her, what right have we to think of ourselves again? It is not so easy to do as to say, of that I am sure, but there is no other way out. Whether we see or don't see, Mother is our only place of rest." I love this line. Once we have given over to her, what right have we to think of ourselves again? Once we have given over, then that's like the child taking back the gift. We've given over. What right have we to think of ourselves? Just think of Mother. So what does this attitude of utter surrender look like? Look at Sri Ramakrishna's life. Once, as you know, his nephew, who was his attendant, Hridoy, created quite a bit of mischief there in the temple, and finally the temple authorities banished him from the temple. The manager of the temple, Trailokya Babu, sent word that he should be banished from the temple, never to return. So the one who was given the job of informing him, also maybe he mistook the instructions. He went to Sri Ramakrishna and told Sri Ramakrishna also, you're to go, never to come back. That he'd been living there for years, for decades. That was where the Divine Mother's temple was. His spiritual realizations, everything was unfolding there. And the man came and told him, you have to leave. What did he do? He threw his towel, his bathing towel, on his shoulder, and he started walking towards the gate. Just like that, with his bathing towel on his shoulder, walking towards the gate, unconcerned. Mother knows. I'm to go. All right, Mother knows. Mother is not in the temple. Mother is everywhere. Mother is here in my heart. Mother is with me always. Mother knows. I'm to go. All right, I'm going. He threw his bath towel on his shoulder, the one thing he could call his own thing that he'll need it for his bath every day. And for the rest, Mother knows. Just like that. Sri Ramakrishna likened this to the attitude of a kitten. We're satisfied wherever its mother puts it. You've seen how a baby kitten, mother cat will pick it up by the scruff of its neck and put it somewhere. And it doesn't know anything. It just cries meow, meow, cries to its mother. And whether it's placed in the ash heap or on a nice cushion, it doesn't know the difference. It only knows Mother. But where we start, it's hard to start there. We start like the baby monkey. The baby monkey, if you've seen the monkeys in India, they sail through the trees, jumping from branch to branch far overhead. And the mother monkeys have a little baby clinging on for dear life to the mother's fur. And if the baby lets go, that's all. Baby will fall. So like that, we start out our spiritual life. We start out our spiritual life clinging to God, holding on tight. But gradually that ripens into the attitude of a kitten, where Mother knows. Mother will pick me up by the scruff of the neck and put me wherever I should be, and I'll be happy there. So this kind of attitude reflects a very mature state, a mature spiritual development. finally that surrender starts to become easy when we develop that love which Sri Ramakrishna talks about in the next part of this prayer. So let's go on to the next part of the prayer. Sri Ramakrishna says, I don't want bodily comforts. I don't want name and fame. I don't want occult powers, magic powers. I don't want all these things. This is really what we ought to ask ourselves from time to time. What is it that we really want? What is it that we really want? Because let's face it, we do want those things. We want physical comforts. We want to have a nice chocolate. We want, these desires are there. We can't deny it. We want these gross things. And we like to have recognition. We want people to know who we are. We want, if we do something, we want people to know about it. We won't mind if they write an article about us in the newspaper. We like some name and fame. And in spiritual life, we hear about all the saints who have these magic powers. They can read people's minds. They can walk on water. These are also kind of tempting. What would that be if I could read other people's minds? So these things are temptations. But what do we really want? Do we really want these things? Desire for physical comforts are natural to the body. Desire for name and fame, they're natural to the mind. But will these things really give us peace? Swami Vivekananda explains, when we get a little joy in this world, when we get a little happiness, say, from eating a piece of chocolate, he says, wherever there is any bliss, even though in the most sensual of things, there is a spark of that eternal bliss, which is the Lord himself. Actually, all bliss comes from the divine. He's quoting from the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. Etasya evanandasya anyani bhutani matram upajivanti. Wherever there is any bliss, it is a spark of that eternal bliss. He goes on to explain, even in the lowest kinds of attraction, there is the germ of divine love. Who can attract a soul really? Only he, his is the attraction. Do you think dead matter can truly attract the soul? It never did and never will, says Swamiji. So he says even the lowest forms of attraction derive their power from God itself. It's the divine attracting us through all these things, through the chocolates, through the pretty faces, through the name and fame, through the occult powers. That attraction for all these things is the divine attraction shining through. So let's cut to the chase. Cut out all those other things. I don't want name and fame. I don't want creature comforts. I don't want occult powers. I want you. Swami Vivekananda likens God to a great magnet attracting all of us. He says the Lord is the great magnet and we are all like iron filings. We are being constantly attracted by him. And all of us are struggling to reach him. All this struggling of ours in this world is surely not intended for selfish ends. All the tremendous struggling and fighting in life is intended to make us go to him ultimately and be one with him. So the attraction is the divine attraction. In spiritual life, we try to make it conscious, that's all. We make it conscious. We consciously recognize that that's the big magnet. God is the big magnet pulling us. So let us allow all our struggling to be for God. So Sri Ramakrishna says, I don't want all these things. What do I want? Just see, Mother, that I may have Shuddha Bhakti, the purest devotion for you, the purest love for you. Rejecting all other desires, I only want God. I want that I only want love. I only want that love which is untainted by any desires, motiveless devotion, ahaituki bhakti, motiveless devotion. we all love. We all love, and we all recognize the idea of unconditional love. But we find it's very rare in this world because our love is always mixed up with a little something, we expect at least I love you, and at least you also ought to love me. At least that much. There's a little bargain there. You ought to love me, I love you, you ought to love me too. That's not pure love. Swami Vivekananda says there are three things which love is not. It doesn't have any bargaining in it. There's a bargain. I love you, you love me. No bargaining in that pure love. There's no fear. Pure love has no fear. I love you, but I'm a little afraid lest maybe you don't love me. I'm afraid, what if you will die? That's not the pure love. It's got a little fear mixed in. Love knows no rival, he says. I love you, but I also love those things. I love a lot of things, but I'm not giving all my love to you. I'm giving some of it to somebody else also, some of it to some other things also. That's not pure love. Pure love is that single, all-embracing, unconditional love which has no conditions at all. Whether you love me or hate me, I love. Now, something which may strike us is that Sri Ramakrishna doesn't ask, Mother, I only want you. He asks, Mother, I want love for you. Why does he do that? Why doesn't he just say, Mother, I want you? Why? Now, he's teaching us how to pray. Why is he teaching us not to pray for Mother herself, but to pray for love for Mother? Well, one thing, of course, is that in the bhakti tradition, the tradition of devotion, love itself is both the means and the goal. So love is the goal. Another thing which strikes me about it is that praying for God is a kind of unreal prayer for us. We don't know what is God. We haven't seen God. We haven't yet realized God. So what is God? We're praying to have God. We don't really know what we're praying for. It's a kind of unreal prayer. So it doesn't go so deep. But love, we know what love is. We've tasted love. We've tasted a little devotion. We're praying for more of that. We're praying for a deeper experience of that. First, let us get a little faith and devotion, then we'll know what more to pray for. But finally, I would say that the highest reading of oneness in this world of relativity is love. God is love. So when we're praying for pure love for Mother, we're also praying for Mother because Mother is pure love. So this purity of prayer, our singleness of desire, people approach the divine for all kinds of reasons. Sri Ramakrishna is modeling for us approaching God just for the sake of love alone and nothing else. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna explains that to Arjuna, there are 4 types of people pray to me, 4 types of people worship me. And what are they? Those who are in distress, those who are seeking knowledge, those who are seeking enjoyment, and the wise. And he calls them all good, all noble. But the wise person has a special place because the wise one is not seeking anything. The others are basically self-seeking. Seeking the small self with a small s. Some are seeking enjoyment, either here or hereafter. I want to have a good job. I want to have good food. I want to have a good career. I want to spend a nice long time in heaven. This is all enjoyment. That's some self-seeking. Seeking for relief from distress. I'm in trouble. It's true. If a devotee is in trouble, where will he turn? Well, where will she turn? She will turn to God, no doubt. But still, it's about me. Sri Ramakrishna, when he was suffering from cancer of the throat, he was in terrible misery. And the devotees were begging him, talk to the mother, tell mother about it. Just put your mind on your throat and you can heal it yourself. What? Take my mind away from the lotus feet of the Divine Mother and put it on this cage of flesh and bones? He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. So only the wise don't seek anything. They seek only love for the sake of love alone. The scriptures hint that to really understand this, one must experience it. One must experience how love is its own reward. One must experience that when we taste that divine love, it renders all other desires insipid. We lose all taste for everything else when we get a taste of that love. It's, Narada says in his Bhakti Sutras, tasting that love, one desires no more, takes no more pleasure in any vain things of this world, has no more jealousy. One becomes intoxicated and finds joy only in the self. Swami Vivekananda says the reward of love is love. And what a reward it is. It is the only thing that takes off all sorrows, the only cup by drinking of which this disease of the world vanishes. Man becomes divinely mad and forgets that he is man. He loved to quote the mystic poets who sing the love songs to God. O beloved, one kiss of thy lips, kissed by thee, one's thirst for thee increases forever. All sorrows cease, one forgets the past, present, and future, and only thinks of thee alone. That is the madness of the lover, he says. When all desires have vanished, who cares for salvation? Who cares to be saved? Who cares to be perfect even? Who cares for freedom, says the lover. I do not want wealth, nor even health. I do not want beauty. I do not want intellect. Let me be born again and again amid all the evils that are in the world. I will not complain, but let me love thee. Let me love thee. So that's the idea. Once we taste that love, we realize that there's nothing else to be wanted, nothing else to be prayed for. Sri Ramakrishna goes on in his prayer, Mother, protect me from your world bewitching Maya. May I never feel attraction for the ordinary things of this world. I have felt that attraction for you. Don't let me get confused. You know, when we take up spiritual life, here we're swimming against the current. It's like swimming against the current. This world is diving headlong into enjoyment. Oh, it's all about me. It's all about enjoyment. It's all about money and power. And when we want to go towards God, at first it's like swimming against a very strong current. We need tremendous strength. We need divine help. We need the help of the Mother to swim against that current. We are starting to feel the divine attraction. May we not feel may we not get re-attracted to those things which we're leaving behind. May we not forget ourselves and run after name and fame and power and pelf and lust and gold. Those things which will bind us, those things which will take us away from our spiritual quest. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, Mother, aside from thee, I have no one. You're the only one whom I can call my own. Who is really our own? Mother, you are the only one who is really my own. Sri Ramakrishna used to be pretty blunt about this. He told some pretty rough stories, like the yogi whose disciple said he was teaching his disciple how to, that he should renounce the world, give up the world, and become a monk. Anyhow, that story is a little severe. He finally learns that even his closest family members are not ready to give up their own lives for him. So then he realizes there's only God is our own. He used to sing a song, remember, O my mind, remember nobody is your own. Nobody is your own. Even your beloved wife, for whom while yet you live, you fret yourself almost to death, will not go with you at the end. She too will say farewell, and shun your corpse like an evil thing. So, this idea that even our most near and dear ones, they're not going with us when it's time to leave the body. They're not going with us. So how do we live? Sri Ramakrishna gives the beautiful example of the maidservant who works in another home of another family, and she raises the children there, and she calls them her own children. She says, my Frankie, my Sally, my Hari, my Ram. And yet she knows that they're not her children. She knows that her own children are at her own home in the countryside. So our own home is in the divine. So our family members, our beloved ones, we call them our own. We act as if they are our own, but we know in our heart of hearts only one is truly our own. Sri Ramakrishna goes on in his prayer. He says, I am without worship. I don't know how to worship. I don't know how to chant your name. I'm without spiritual practices. I don't have knowledge. I have no devotion. This may seem a little curious. Sri Ramakrishna was the very embodiment of devotion, the very embodiment of divine knowledge. How much spiritual practice he did. Of course, he's teaching us to pray, but even we have a little devotion, otherwise we wouldn't be coming here. Why are we to pray like this? We like Swami Vivekananda telling us, throw off all weakness, be strong, strength. This sounds like weakness. I am without devotion, I am without knowledge. I think it's what it means is that a time comes in our spiritual life when we recognize that in spite of all our efforts, in spite of our giving our all in prayer, meditation, spiritual practice, service, struggling as hard as we can to make spiritual progress, and we find that it seems like we're not, for every step forward we take 2 steps back, and we're just not making progress. We just find that we can't break through, and it is then that we realize that all our efforts just turn to dust, and what we need is divine grace. All our efforts are just for putting us in the right attitude, but then if we really want Mother, she's going to have to show herself to us. We are going to need her grace. We are striving for the infinite. The infinite is our heritage and our birthright. But our striving is finite. How to attain the infinite through finite striving? It can't be done. We have given our utmost, we have given 125%, and then we find that still the goal seems far off. Then we say, what I have done is not enough. I am actually without the requisite devotion. I am without the requisite spiritual practice. And then comes surrender. Then comes peace. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell the story of a bird on the mast. There was a bird who found a nice perch on the mast of a ship which was sailing in the Ganges. And it was quite happy there, and it became somewhat absent-minded. It took a nap and didn't notice that the ship left the waters of the Ganges and entered the ocean and went on to the broad expanse of the ocean. When it came to its senses, it found that it was surrounded only by water, and it thought it better go back to land. So it started flying off towards the south, and it flew, and it flew, and it flew, and it got more and more tired, and finally it realized if it didn't go back to the mast, it would probably just run out of energy and die. So it flew back to the ship, sat on the mast, and rested for a long while. Then it went off to search for land towards the north, and it flew as far as its wings could take it, couldn't find land, came back to the mast, rested again for a long while. Then it started out towards the east and flew for a long time to the east before coming back, again resting for a while. Then it flew towards the west. Finally it came back to the mast, not having found land anywhere, and gave up. It had no more worry. It said, I can't find land, all right, I'll just stay right here. So the mast is God. And all our seeking and striving and searching is going, it's tiring our wings. And when our wings are completely tired and we have no more energy, we surrender at the feet of the Mother and attain to peace. There's a beautiful song written about this idea, actually about Sri Ramakrishna. The song goes, O bird of my mind, cling fast to the mast of Sri Ramakrishna's name. Paki tui thik boshe thak re Ramakrishna namir mastuli. O bird, cling fast to the mast of Ramakrishna's name. So finally, Sri Ramakrishna, the prayer closes again with a begging Mother for her grace. Mother, be gracious. Out of your infinite mercy, grant me love for your lotus feet. So this is what I wanted to say about this beautiful prayer of Sri Ramakrishna's, which is a kind of a guide for our spiritual life if we're following the path of devotion. We should say this talk clearly and obviously falls firmly in the category of bhakti yoga, approaching the divine through love. Though the approaches are not mutually contradictory. But I'll close with a quote from Swami Vivekananda, which touches on that, this approach through love. The way of all ways to realization is love. When one loves the Lord, the whole universe becomes dear to one, because it is all His. Everything is His, and He is my lover. I love Him, says the bhakta. In this way, everything becomes sacred to the bhakta, because all things are His. How then may we hurt anyone? How then may we not love another? With the love of God will come as its effect the love of everyone in the long run. The nearer we approach God, the more do we begin to see that all things abide in Him. Our heart will become a perennial fountain of love. Man is transformed in the presence of this light of love and realizes at last the beautiful and inspiring truth that love, lover, and beloved are really one. Love, lover, and beloved finally become one. Thank you. Om Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavai Vedaya Sangapadakramopanisadai Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantanna Vidu Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Our salutations to Him who is the truth of life and existence, and whom the sages call by various names. Our salutations to Him whose glory is sung in the sacred hymns of the various scriptures of the world, but whose limitless and infinite grandeur no mortal mind can comprehend. Our salutations to Him on whom the devotees meditate in the shrine of their hearts and realize His ineffable presence in their deepest contemplations. May He illumine our understanding and prompt our minds to the path of truth and righteousness. May He reveal Himself unto our souls and dispel the gloom of delusion, fear, doubt, and darkness. Om peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us and to all humankind.